All right, let me press start. I'm gonna do my phone. So sometimes I get distracted with it on up there. Hi everyone, my name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here, grateful to be sober because of a loving God. Thank you so much, Jay, for the invitation. And thank you, Serenity Group. The Serenity Group, thank you for having me. Participate in my recovery. I always say doing a 12-step call on me, helping me to stay sober today. And if somebody gets something, that's just a cherry on top. I always have a share before I share, and that is that I am uncomfortable. This is awkward and intimidating. It just helps me to say it to take the power out of it. I want to welcome anybody who's new. Welcome home. Please keep coming back. And any old timers in the house, thank you for my life and my sobriety. I still want what you have, so please keep coming back. We need you. I'm glad we don't get that well around here. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. But for the grace of God, sponsorship, fellowship, 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12 concepts. It takes a village. I've been with you all for the last 24 years. I can't count 25 yet because we haven't gotten to March 29th, so anything is liable to happen. But if I keep doing what I've been doing for the last 34 years, maybe I'll be here 35. I get to share in a general way what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. I give you a reader's digest. And as I do so, I invite you to listen to similarities and not the differences. And we get to ask ourselves questions like that happened to me. I felt that way too. And most importantly, perhaps this program can work for me. I never thought that my experience could benefit others. I don't think I look back and say, let me make a note of this because one day I'll be able to share it with a bunch of people and hopefully give hope and make a difference. What I do get to share with you so I can remember, and I know I get excited afterwards, is what it was like. And I'm going to encapsulate it with some adjectives is the best way to do it. I'm born addicted. My mother died a couple of years ago with 38 years of sobriety. My mother was an alcoholic and an addict. I was not wanted by my mother. She said I'm a product of rape. I was left in the hospital. It was my grandmother and my father that brought me home. And since I was born addicted, they gave me alcohol. The intention was to wean me off. But they left me alone in the house with mommy so she could look at me and touch me or something. She said she began to smother me. She figured I would die from crib death and it wouldn't be her fault. She would get rid of me once and for all. And I don't know why mommy remembered hearing them say if you give her alcohol, she'll stop crying. But that's what she did. And she made sure that a bottle of alcohol remained in my mouth and it was only to be removed to be refilled. And perhaps that's where my relationship with alcohol starts. Certainly when I looked at step one and I looked at the doctor's opinion and all the other preceding chapters that talk about alcoholism, I had to see where did my relationship with alcohol start and how did I have what we call the disease of alcoholism. Because at no time did I make a conscious choice to drink. I certainly extracurriculum activities and extra things I did as my disease progressed, but I never made a conscious choice to drink. And so I remember I blamed it on my mother for a long time. But when I look at what is alcoholism, what I got to see was that I suffer from what's different from any tempered drinker, any average drinker, was that I had the allergic reaction. My mother didn't anticipate that. She was hoping that I would die from alcohol poisoning. But she wasn't aware of alcoholism and what it really entails. And certainly I wasn't. I was an infant. I was a baby. And so when I say my name is Theresa, I'm an alcoholic today, I understand why I'm saying it. Is because my relationship with alcohol is different than the average person who drinks. My allergic reaction was that instead of my body rejecting it and dying as a result of it, I received it, welcomed it, and demand more of it. And so I drank my entire life until I came into these rooms at the age of 24. I drank every day, all day, and I drank in my house, and it was given to me by my family. I have pictures. I'm loaded. My first year birthday, second year birthday, at parties. So I drank at home. I don't know anything about peer pressure or, I don't know, trying to find it or hide it. I didn't have to hide any bottles. And I sipped my drinks. I didn't chug a lug, dance butt naked on tables, or chase it down. I sipped. I remember when I got sober and I heard one's too many and a thousand's not enough. I told my sponsor, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. The most I ever drank was on prom night, peppermint schnapps, and I threw up all over the place and I never did it again. And she took me to downtown Skid Row to introduce me to myself. Because if you have been drinking as long as I have, I only needed a little bit. My entire body was fueled with alcohol. I only needed a sip. Mommy was the drunk. She was the mess. She would pass out, fall out, and I always got bottles for her. But I sipped. This has been coming up for me lately. I say not everyone who is an alcoholic is a bull in a china store. And what I mean by that is I didn't make any waves. I didn't start any problems. I didn't burn bridges because I never established any. I was that quiet drunk. And here's why. I'm saying that was the quiet drunk. Because aside from the abuse of alcoholism, I also grew up with physical abuse, verbal abuse, and sexual abuse. So I was unwanted, unnecessary, and insignificant. It's as though a memo went around and they said, take out all of your sexual deviances and your anger and your frustration on her because she doesn't matter. Nobody cares about her. We don't even know why she's still alive. We hope that she would have died a long time ago. And so what alcohol allowed me to do was to be like the three monkeys: hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It left me emotionally like dead. I wasn't present for anything. I didn't feel anything. I didn't hear anything. I always had a smile on my face. It gave me like that Harry Potter cloak that he wore, like invisible. I was always like the fly on the wall. Like I never wanted to make any noise because if you saw me in the room or you acknowledged I was there, you were gonna do something to me. So I didn't bother anybody. I really didn't. I was a straight A student. That was because mommy threatened I wouldn't be able to drink if I got anything less than an A. So I always got an A. I wasn't a problem maker. Alcohol told me when to get up in the morning, when to go to bed at night, where I was gonna live, where I wasn't gonna live, if I was in a relationship, if I wasn't, who I was in a relationship with. It was my higher power. It was my oxygen. It was the blood that ran through my veins. I always say, I don't know if alcohol talked to you, but it talked to me and it told me if nobody loves you, I do. If nobody wants you, I got you. And none of those people matter. It's only you and me against the world. And so that's how I lived my life for 24 years. I got emancipated at the age of 14. All my friends were always 15, 20 years my senior. I didn't play with Barbie doll or hopscotch or jump rope. So I was a grown woman considered by the courts at the age of 14. At that time, I had a nonprofit agency in New York. My man was 26, beat me on a daily basis, and nobody couldn't have told me that I wasn't love. And he punched me like a punching bag, and I would bounce right back and be like, you're not done yet. I want to finish watching the rest of this television program. I lived like that movie Death Becomes Her. I would have broken bones and bleeding, and I would just be like, stitch me up, put the bone back, and let's keep it moving. As I got older, I would say I lived like Michelle Pfeiffer and Scarface, man. I was all about dressing up my outside. My house was immaculate, like a magazine. I didn't know I was dying on the inside or suffer from a spiritual malady. I don't even remember anything about the obsession of the mind. It was automatic. Talk about can't differentiate the true from the false, or the alcoholic life being a normal one. This was just automatic. Alcohol was my puppet master and it pulled the strings. And I completely relied and depended on it because that's all I had ever known, even to the point for me to breathe. And I don't think I ever planned on changing that relationship. Most of my family members die from this disease. This is generations of this dysfunction. Got family members, we're mafia. We're all, addicts, alcoholics, heroin. We're like, as well as we have family members that are police officers, politicians, and priests. So I didn't see anything different. I spent many, I don't know, I've been bringing this up lately. I lived in these two worlds. We have a lot of spiritual teachers and priests in our family going back 4 generations. And I learned transcendental meditation at 5, and I was doing spiritual readings and cleansings, and I would go into the spirit realm, and it was so beautiful, and it was peaceful, and there was unconditional love, and it was so different from the physical world. I'd be in the physical world and it'd be like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, people here were just mean to each other and cruel, and I would go into the world of spirit. I don't even know if that was an escape. I just knew that it was peaceful there and a lot of love. And so alcohol allowed me to live in the physical world. And I don't remember questioning, why is it that the spirit world is so loving and this world is so cruel. I didn't have the wherewithal, nor was it the forefront of my mind. It was just what I was experiencing. And so if I had to live in this world, the only way I think I was able to survive and function was with alcohol. I don't know if I would have survived it any other way, even though there are many others who probably have experienced what I've experienced without it. And I wasn't planning on changing anything about it. I don't remember saying I want to run away, or I hope tomorrow's different, or I don't need to live like this anymore. I don't recall having those ideas. What changed, for whatever reason, because I hear a lot of stories in these rooms. Thank God you told me to listen to similarities and not the differences. But here's an area where I believe most of us really come to a place of the consistency of the experience that is not too far off from one another. And that is, for whatever reason, at the age of 24, I always say this is where I believe alcohol betrayed me, abandoned me, and left me emotionally retarded without any coping skills. But you call that alcohol stops working. I refer to it as I was just abandoned by the only thing I had ever known. And now I became present from my experience. And I had never been here. I had never been here. I don't know how to exist without alcohol. That's the only way I was able to function. It was as though I had been living in a coma, and now I'm resuscitated and I'm present in this thing you call life. And I've never been here, you guys. That's all alcoholic torture to me. When I'm restless, irritable, and discontent, and I take a drink and I find no ease and comfort, like, we talk about incomprehensible demoralization. That's a whole lot of things. I think it's far worse when you can't get drunk and you can't get sober. If I'm doing incomprehensible demoralization and I'm in the depths of the insanity of alcoholism, I don't notice. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't notice. I didn't have moments of remorse and guilt. I'm in it. There's a sense of normality and comfortability. And now all of a sudden, I began to hear what people were saying and feel what was happening and see what was going on. That was a haunted house to me. It was the most horrible thing. That was absolutely horrible. My bottom lasted 6 months. I know people do it for years, but for me, it lasted 6 months. And I was trying every combination so I can go back into a coma. I tried everything I could so I can check out again. I hated the fact that I was a, I heard somebody say I'm worried about the overdose or something. I was worried about the underdose. Like, it was like I'm looking forward to dying. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't afraid of dying. Are you serious? When is it going to happen? I just dreaded coming to another day like this. That's alcoholic torture to me. And I couldn't find the right combination. I really tried, y'all. I really, really did. I don't know if I'll be here if I would have found it again. And I end up inviting death in my life. And I believe it's a horrific thing to invite death in your life as the only viable option. And death don't even take you out. Like, the Grim Reaper don't even want me. Like, nobody wanted me, not even death. I wanted to go to that other world where I knew it was nice over there. And I couldn't even get to that world. I end up doing what I call the aimless walk with no purpose, no agenda, no destination. And I ended up in a church in Queens, New York. I'm from New York, Puerto Rican, born and raised, in Manhattan. I was in Queens at the time. And I ended up in this church. I wasn't looking for it. When I've gone to New York, when I go back to New York, I've taken that walk and it's not a straight line. We talk about only an act of providence can help a drunk like me. Why did I end up in that church? I don't know, but I just know I ended up there. And I stepped inside the church and I felt the presence. And it was distinctly separate from me. And I said a prayer that I think is different than any other prayer. And here is where I believe most of us meet, is where the gift of desperation and the window of grace of God collide with one another. There was this short window of time. And I asked God to allow me to feel the peace that I felt in that church inside of me. I didn't know what I was praying to. If anything was listening to me, I don't even know what I was praying. I can't even tell you why I said inside of me. I just know that I said it. And I had no idea that prayer was going to change my life. I left there. I went to my father's house. I asked daddy for help. I had never asked for help before. And I came to California because you have a tradition. It's called attraction rather than promotion. My cousin is sober. She's still sober. She's celebrating today. My cousin is sober and my mother. And I remembered you people. For 4 years, they were here. And whenever I came to California, I would go to the meeting and the meeting after the meeting and musicians picnic and all this kind of stuff. I don't remember a seed being planted. I don't remember paying attention to any of you. But we talk about sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I remembered, it was like maybe y'all messed up my drinking because the seed was planted. But I remembered you. The smiles, the laughter, the warmth, and the camaraderie. I remember you never shunned me, roll your eyes at me, suck your teeth at me, or try to shove a pamphlet down my throat. I'm grateful you didn't do any of that. I think I would have tried to figure out how to die out there before I came here and proved you right. I detoxed on the Greyhound bus. My mother picked me up from downtown Union Station. I was wearing a size 1 pair of pants, 2 pants underneath. I still see her. Oh my, what a broken girl. I was 4 months pregnant, didn't have a heartbeat by the time I got here. That was the fourth child I had lost. Haven't had the privilege of having children ever since. And my mother picked me up and she dropped me off in the rooms. She left me there 3,000 miles from New York City with these total strangers. I got sober in South Central Los Angeles, Crenshaw Lano, 9604. And mommy, we walked into the room and mommy turned around to walk out. I asked her where she was going and she said, "This is as far as I can go with you." And she turned me over to the people that saved her life. I always mention Marcy because I believe she's the one that set the cement underneath my feet. This total stranger walked up to me, this woman who worked a lot with newcomers. She had a sense of certainty, conviction, unapologetically. She was another little Puerto Rican petite woman like myself. I didn't know it at the time. Uh, she walked straight up to me. Like, I don't remember where she came from, but she walked straight up to me. I still hear her. And she said, "Hey, baby girl, we've been praying for you. God don't make no junk, baby girl. You deserve to be here. You a child of God." And she took her hand, she put it on my face, moved me close to her. She looked at me. I don't think anybody ever looked at me. I had always been invisible. I don't think anybody ever seen me. I had no face, no name. I was a nothing and a nobody. And this woman looked at me. And she said, "You have a beautiful light inside of you. And we need to clean house for that light to shine." What gets me is that I believe this woman. I believed Marcy. I wanted to know what she saw. Here is somebody who says something completely contrary to anything I heard. Maybe I heard that in the spirit world. Maybe my father and my grandmother said it, but it was muffled by all the other noise. But Marcy's voice was louder than anything. And I believed her. I don't know how else to describe that. Something so contrary. And I wanted to believe what Marcy saw. She sat me down. She told me to sit down, shut up, and listen. She told to listen like the dying only could, and I had to examine my relationship with alcohol. And I began to listen to you guys. I got sober in South Central. Most people came from Skid Row. The level of transformation of the things that I heard share from that podium was extraordinary. And you began to explain that this was an illness? What? I have generations of. I tell people maybe because I'm Latina, I'm overly dramatic, I'm like a Telemundo, I'm a black or white kind of thing. It's either this or it isn't that. Like we don't in Spanish, we don't have a lot of maybe words. Like English has a lot of, I don't know, innuendos. We have like it either is or it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Either it's this or it's that. And I was listening to you and was like, what are you saying to me right now? That we don't have to live like this? That this is an illness that can be treated? Of course I didn't know. That I'm not a bad person, that I'm not ill-willed, that I'm not incompetent. Even though they call me stupid and all that, I always got straight A's. I have a resume that's ridiculous. But you're telling me that I can't do anything on my own to change this disease, and it has to be treated like any other illness. I got the allergy thing. I don't know if people get caught up. It's an allergy. I know people who are allergic to peanuts and strawberries, and we don't yell at them and tell them, I'm gonna give you some peanuts and you better not let your throat close up. If you love me, you'll breathe when you eat peanuts. Like we don't tell them that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like get an EpiPen or stay away from peanuts at all costs. Sounds like if it's an allergic reaction, I have to stay away from that because the moment I do it, something happens to me. I instantly got the powerlessness. And I didn't even spend years trying to prove that I could drink like other people. Look, that relationship with alcohol had ended. And you were showing me that living just might not be so bad. That perhaps entering the world of spirit is not a place that I get to do with a glass of water and a candle or sitting in a lotus position, that I can now bring that world that seemed distinctly separate for whenever you die into this world, and that they can live harmoniously together. That I now have an identity and I have a name, that my name is going to be Theresa and I'm an alcoholic and I'm a part of a fellowship, that you can't throw me out. That it doesn't matter if you don't like me. I learned the traditions way before the steps. I'm a member because I say I am. This was the one place that I felt safe enough just to be. The land of the misfits, of the broken toys, Humpty Dumpty trying to be put back together again. And that we're all not crazy on the same day. And I get to be transparent, and you're transparent with me, and I get to share with you my transparency, and we share our experience, strength, and hope with one another. This is not a master class. And I don't have to do any more performances, and I can let go of the Harry Potter cloak, and I can let go of trying to be invisible or fly in the wall, that I can actually exist among men, that I can have meaning and significance, that you built a relationship with a power that cannot fail. And I had to seek out this power. Where do I find it? Inside of me. How do I get there? Through the steps. I love the simplicity of this program. They don't have to be a genius. As a matter of fact, I have to dummy up. I had to keep it simple. Follow the black on the white. Follow the treasure map. Follow the X's. And I just started doing it. I don't remember putting a whole lot into the steps and whether it made sense or not, or whether I agree with it or not, or was comfortable or not. I was willing to do whatever it was for a drink. I don't think I need to all of a sudden higher my standards and say I'm not going to do the work required around here so I can recover. Let's just do it and see what happens. You know, my father told me before I came to California, he said, you're standing in the middle of a crossroad, three directions you're headed. You're so close to them, you could taste them and smell them. And that's jails, mental institutions, and death. But there's another road, it's called recovery. You don't know anything about it, neither do I. If you give it a try, doesn't work out, the other three will be waiting for you. I can always go back to that life. And I can go back to that life like I ain't never left. But have I done this? I'm willing to give this a shot. Let's see what happens. Especially because I had a higher power called alcohol. And it took away my power of choice. And it robbed me of hopes and dreams and my childhood and my innocence, integrity and dignity and self-respect and self-esteem and self-worth. And it took people and situations and everything away from me. And I gave my life to it. And you're telling me that this higher power that you found that lies inside of you gives you that back? Why is this negotiable other than the disease trying to distract me to tell me that that's not a wonderful proposition? I know that I've heard folks say, God does this without my permission. I think I understand why they're saying it. And maybe one day this will change for me. I joke a lot and I say a lot of times, I tell my sponsees, everything is always changing as I continue to clean house. So I'll say to them, you know what I told you last week? That was deep, right? It no longer applies. You know what I mean? Like I found out I didn't really know what I was talking about, but it sounded good last week. You couldn't have told me I didn't finally arrive at the answer. Anyway, so this could change. But so far, what I've seen is I hear God does it without my permission. And I'd be listening, like, does he? Alcohol did things without my permission. But the higher power that you found, the Alpha, the Omega, the creator of all things, from the creature, from the smallest atom to the insects, to the planet, to the plants, the whole universe needs my permission. Because without it, it's limited on what it's not even is the word limited. God is infinite. It just cannot function without my willing to redirect my will towards it. So one thing that God gave man was will. I think the closest one that can come to it is parents. You create a child and you bring this child in this world and it's completely dependent on you. And then one day it grows up to be a teenager and adult, and all of a sudden you're insignificant and doesn't need you anymore. And you just can't wait for that child to ask for your advice. I don't have children, but I help raise my nephews. And let me tell you, they're 26 and 22. I get excited when they call me. I ain't talking to nobody else because they finally invited me into their world. And I remember when my oldest nephew, he just started debating everything I would say. And I remember telling him, what happened to the days when you would gaze up at me and be like, you're the most wisest, beautiful woman in the whole world? Now you're like, whatever. I don't believe you. As a matter of fact, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'd be like, that's how I see God. Like, oh no, I'm here. But I'll always be here for you whenever you're ready. So this power that you found needed our permission. And then we go into partnership and it's a companion. And I say, I want, it's funny because you use language like we alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us. That means I gotta let him. And step 3, it says made a decision. Well, if he could do it without my permission, I don't need to make a decision. Just like, I don't know, just handle my life. I think understanding this thing about will has helped me to find compassion for myself and others on the actions that we take. If God was doing things without my permission, why did he let people treat me so bad? Why were people so cruel and he let them harm me? These are things that I've had to ask myself because I'm like, what is that all about? If I'm asking him to remove my fear, if I'm praying and say this is a spiritually sick person as I am too, God save me from being angry. This I constantly have to give an invitation. If not, I could run self-will one riot and not even think so and still be loved by this power, waiting for me to one day fall and hurt myself and come crawling back going, Uncle, Uncle. Never mind. I don't think I'm doing a good job. Hold up. I'm messing it all up. Oh my goodness. I like the relationship that you showed me that you had. I want to stay in partnership. So I just got a clean house, like Marcy said. Clean house, trusting God, be of service. I remember just telling them, you guys are brainwashing me. They used to say, your brain needs washing. They have burned into my consciousness the clean house and trusting God. I've had to uncover, discover, discard. Then I say, God, have all of me, good and bad. What will you have me be? What will you have me do? And I begin to develop intuition. I have an internal GPS. That the miracle then that takes place is I'm not dominated in the mind by this power that gave me the illusion that I was in charge, but I was never in charge. To get rid of this peculiar mental twist that scares the living daylights out of me. If you knew, peculiar mental twist looks like this. My head tells me that I don't really have a problem. But because I think I have a problem, it'll give me the strategy on how to get out of the problem. But the very plan and strategy to get out of it is the same one to keep me in it to then tell me I don't have a problem. That's scary. That's scary. I need a power that's bigger than that to restore me to sanity. So not only is the drinking problem removed, I have a brain to use. I'll have inspiration and intuitive thought, and it gives me purpose and meaning. And now my name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. My purpose is to stay sober and carry the message. I become useful. I contribute to life. I'm significant. I matter. You matter. And I follow my assignments and know that God is infinite and cannot fail. And that in partnership, with one hand in God and one hand in this program, anything is possible. I may not like how it all goes down sometimes. I get to stretch my spiritual muscles. If I'm praying and I'm asking God to show me what's blocking me from it, it's no wonder I'm experiencing things that are uncomfortable so I could see what's blocking me. I don't know if it's sadistic, but I'm like, show me what's blocking me from you. And I get into all these uncomfortable situations and relations, and stuff comes up for me, and it's like, oh, okay, I got a clean house, clean house, clean house. Most who know me, I've been the caregiver to most of my perpetrators and my abusers. And I've gone through a series of me doing it because, I don't know, I wanted them to love me, find out that it doesn't really matter. I've gone through, this is my assignment, and I show up to it. And it's an invitation so I could see what disturbs me. I always believed my mother's job was to remind me of how spiritual I'm not. My mother be like, you're not that spiritual, watch this. I'll be like, you got me. Still need to work on that one. I swear that was mommy's job. I joke, but I really believe this. I believe that I stretched my spiritual muscles with my mother. Oh my goodness, did we do the dance? And my mother ended up getting Alzheimer's. And it's a very interesting experience to be with someone who is an alcoholic, untreated with Alzheimer's. I used to say, that's kind of what she was doing my whole life, but now she has an excuse because that's alcoholic behavior. Anyway, don't know what day it is. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But I believe that when mommy finally died and she was taking her last breath, I believe it was like poltergeist. She was like, this house is clean. Because I did a lot of inner house cleaning with mommy. My father saw him take his last breath. My brother, my only brother. My uncle, you know what's amazing? Other than daddy, but daddy did live when I was 2. And he came back and gave me a lot of spiritual tools. What's interesting to me is that all those who didn't want me, who hoped that I would die, and if I didn't, was trying to kill me, I end up caring for them. And I don't know if that's their way of making amends to me or my amends for hating them. Someone told me that. What an interesting way for your mother to make amends to you, because she depended and relied on me most of my life. But I got to love her. I got to show compassion and understanding. I remember I would feed her and be like, oh, what a tangle web we weave, you know? I could have been mean and been like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, you know what I mean? And mistreated them. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to show up and use these tools in all my affairs and to grow spiritually. Only they can awaken all that stuff that was, you know what I mean? All that stuff that was just, ugh. And today they're all gone. I had to understand grief. I've grieved in so many ways. Jay and I talked about that. Man, I would go around saying, I don't think people really know what grief is. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what I'm hearing. I don't know what it is, but I don't think that's it. You know what I mean? It's a conversation nobody really knows how to have, because everything for me in sobriety has been a new experience. I came to you emotionally an infant. You've raised me in Alcoholics Anonymous. I came in with a blank slate. I don't know how to do anything. And in a way, I have a similar relationship or idea of this power. Today, it does tell me when to get up in the morning and where to go to bed at night, where I'm going to live, where I'm not going to live, if I'm in a relationship, if I'm not, and who I'm in a relationship with. But the results are a little bit different than the one that I had with alcohol as my higher power. And so after everyone has died, I now have my partner became disabled and I'm her caregiver. I've returned to be a priest in my tradition and practice in a way that perhaps is a little different, not alcoholics and addicts getting initiated and coming out a priest as an alcoholic and an addict. That's a whole other conversation. I get to practice in a way that I believe I implement the 12 steps. Today I'm a student. I went to school not because I was said I'm going to go to school and find out I'm not stupid. I was trying to help my nephew find some more money while he was going to school, and I followed the breadcrumbs. And as I was filling stuff out, they were like, "You qualify. You've been accepted." And I'm like, "What's happening?" I'm going, "Well." And I'm in 4 years now. I'm in the I don't know. I'm going to school. I'm going to have a double major in sociology and religious studies. I learned that I just enjoy it. I just enjoy it. I enjoy learning. I enjoy having an open mind, being a part of a community where we help and support one another. I don't know where I'm going with this. I have a career. I'm a priest. I don't know where it's going to take me. I went back and became a grief recovery specialist. I don't know. I mean, like, let's just expand ourselves in any way possible that we can be of service in the world and his children. Life's been in session for me. I've had 34 years that I could say is rough when my selfishness kicks in and the way I think my life needs to look like. But it's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Lately, I'm gonna say a couple things. I got a few. I think I have like 6 minutes. I'm looking at my time. You let me know, Jay. I've been saying a lot of things were taken away from me without my permission, but my sobriety is mine. Nobody could take this away from me. Right? My virginity was taken away without permission. Cancer took away my brother. Cancer took away my best friend. Parkinson's took away my dad. Alzheimer's, my mother. Cancer, my uncle. Recently, my sponsee. And a lot of people just die. Nobody gave me my vote, even though I had advanced directive. That to me is not a vote. But the one thing I have is my sobriety. Nobody could take it away from me. That's mine. That's mine. That is mine to preserve, to keep, to polish, to expand, to nourish. It is mine to give away, and it's the only thing I will be throwing away if I don't stay in unity, recovery, and service and rest on my laurels and get cocky around here and think I know something. What's waiting for me ain't cute. I think a physical death would be a luxury for me. I'm just going to live out an alcoholic, torturous life, and I won't be able to come back to you. That scares the living daylights out of me. That's a healthy fear. But I've been really fascinated with grief. Is manifested itself interestingly. It's been 2 years now since mommy died. Somebody called me and was like, everywhere your mother was you. Everywhere you were was mommy. Mommy was attached to my hip. I would dress her up like me. So if I lost her, I would say she looks like me and she's dressed like me. So you can always find her. But I was thinking, I've been in my meditation. I'm like, what is this sorrow? Feeling so lost. And I know there's a dynamic about a significant loss and feeling, but I was like, what is this? I've been more self-centered than ever before. Like, I don't remember worrying so much about what everybody thinks about me. This insecurity of just, I don't know. It was weird. I was like, why am I so worried about I'm needy? I'm needy. And it was like, oh, God gives us these assignments. We're in the world in the roles that he assigned. And I didn't realize that each one of the roles that I was assigned, I took it on as a permanent occupation. I don't know how to explain it. For me, Rissa was like, oh, that's what I am. I'm my brother's sister. That's who I am. I'm going to be the best sister I can possibly be. That's who I am in life. I'm Tony's sister. And then he dies. Well, what happened to me being a sister? Oh, you know what I am? I'm Titi. I'm my nephew's Titi. That's who I am in life. I'm my nephew's aunt. And I am the best aunt that there is in the world. And then my nephews grow up and they don't need Titi that more. Okay, who am I then? Oh, I'm a daughter. That's what I am. I'm a daughter. I'm a daughter to daddy. I'm a daughter to mommy. That's who I am. And then they die. Who am I if I'm not a daughter? Oh, I'm a sponsor. That's what I am. I'm a sponsor. Yeah, you're not sponsoring me anymore. I'm gonna have somebody else sponsor me. Oh, okay, then who am I? Oh, I'm a speaker. Oh, yeah, you're not speaking. You're not speaking anymore. Okay, well then who am I?
5 minutes.
Thank you. Oh, you're gonna be the best priest that there is, and built this church is gonna be huge. But then there's this huge conspiracy. It's like Game of Thrones because I have 400 years of a legacy, and they want to take me down. And this is a whole story. Oh, I'm not that anymore. I am a priest, but am I that anymore? I'm not the best priest in the world. I started having all these identities, thinking that they were me, and they were just roles that God had assigned me, that when it's all said and done, and I can't explain to you the peace that came over me when I realized that's not who I've been or who I am. Those are the assignments that I showed up for, that God placed me to be, and I did them well. Who I am is that I'm a child of God, and I deserve to be here, and I get to love God's children. Who I am is an alcoholic, willing to stay sober. That's it. That's all. Do you know what I mean? It was like, what? The simplicity. What a gift. Talk about living two lifestyles in one lifetime. So I always say this, God's a show off, with my permission, of course. Takes a girl like me, unloved, unwanted, unnecessary, insignificant, picks me up, dusts me off, builds me up so you can see what this power can do. To come here and tell you that there is a God and it works. That in all those circumstances, in all those situations, job, no job, house, no house, relationship, no relationship, people who love me, people who don't, not a thought has occurred to me to drink. That is the miracle that happens around here. Not a thought has occurred to me to drink. You cannot tell me there isn't a God and that this program don't work. That's been my experience. And if you knew, I don't know what you're going to do. Honestly, I really don't know. Alcoholism is so insidious that it can convince you otherwise. But as we say, a well-whipped ass is a great motivator. So if you knew, keep coming back. Be willing to do what we've done and see what happens. If nobody told you they love you today, I really, really do. So much continues to go on in my life, but I am present. I am awake and I am aware. You just need to give me a minute. And I do not know how not to give this program away. My phone rings like central office. Real quick, I always say my sponsee stays sober just to see me get through the day. And that is the highlight of my day, is to watch someone else and take them through this journey of recovery. What a gift. What a gift. I love each and every one of you. I want to thank you for allowing the God in you to help discover the God in me so I could do the same for others. Thank you again. Thank you again, Jay. I miss you and I love you. Thank you.
Yay. Oh my God. I love you so much, honey.